Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie Dow, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Hey friends, before we get into this next amazing episode, and I apologize for being tardy this week, I just want to let you know about my winter training cycling program. Now, it's a membership. You can jump in at any time. What you're going to do is learn all about the cycling skills online that are going to make you a much better cyclist, mountain biker, gravel rider in the spring, or even on Swift if you're doing that and you're racing right now. Potentially you're missing some of the key skills and fundamentals that are going to take you to the next level. So I just want to put that out there. If you're looking to improve upon those skills and techniques that you feel that you're lacking, this might be the program for you. We have Thursday night skills sessions, Saturday group rides, Tuesday night intervals or races, and you put all the skills to work so they make sense and you are working towards achieving your goals for the spring. And hopefully that's one of two things: maintaining your summer fitness, improving your efficiency, and maybe working towards a much bigger goal like 100-kilometer event like some of us. So if that's you, I would love you to go to your phone and text the word cycling to 819-809-0999. And remember, it doesn't matter what kind of fitness level you're at, where you live, everything is, the skill sessions are recorded. We join up on Swift. We have people from the United States and we have people from the UK. It's totally amazing and doable, and this could be for you. So remember, text the word cycling to 819-809-0999 and just check out the details there. Take care and enjoy this next episode. Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast with your host Sylvie. But I have a really cool episode with you today with my friend Kim Fera. We have been friends for a long time. She started racing with me in my master's racing program, and I think it was like 2010. I can't even remember, or maybe it was earlier than that. But then she went on after her stint with us, and she continues to participate in cyclocross and gravel now. And she has also done one of the most amazing hikes, through hike, the PCT, which is in California. And she's gotten into bike touring. So we have a lot of things that we're going to talk about today that I'm really, really curious about. So without ado, let's get to talking to Kim, who is right in my neighborhood of Gatineau. Let's talk to her here. Take care and enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast with your host, Sylvie. And I have my good friend here, Kim Fera, who is also in Chelsea. And so we have a lot of things that we're going to talk about today because Kim and I have a lot of history. We're both in the same area. she started racing with my group, and then she's gone on to cyclocross, and then we were just talking about how she did some biathlon in there, and then into bike touring, and then the hiking, which I really want to talk about. So I am just super excited about having Kim, because she's just like an average woman like the rest of us, and these are the
Yeah.
best stories ever that we can share on the podcast, because it's just average people doing really cool things, really. And I was like, I know, Kim, you need to be on my podcast. She's like, what? I'm like, just sign book yourself in. But Kim,
Like
I'm so excited to have you
you
here.
find things that are slightly terrifying and you do them anyway.
Yes, and she's a great example of a couple of these things. So Kim, I'm super excited to have you here. Just have you grab it with me. All right. Now, the first question I always ask is how you got into cycling. How'd you get into
Um,
cycling? And how
I
long ago was
started
that?
a long time. Let me think. I was 13. My dad was in the military, had bad knees, and he was always really a keen cyclist back when it was not cool to wear cycling shorts in public. So
Yeah,
North
that
Bay,
was a
he
long
would
time
go
ago.
out on this road bike he'd built up from parts, wearing cycling shorts, and literally traffic would stop when he went by, because it was apparently so weird. And and when I was 13, I decided I was going to be a cyclist too. And I got to ride, oh my God, it was, those old CCM Targas with the women's frame, what they called a mixed frame.
Was it
They
like a
weigh as big as
V in the
a boat
center?
anchor. Yeah, kind of. Boat anchor of a bike. I got that. That was my bike. It was weight training. And I just started riding every day. We lived outside of Kingston near Bath, Ontario. And I used
Oh,
to just go out every day and just, ride on the little roads and dodge the potholes and get chased by dogs and geese. And yeah, and I just got hooked. I just really liked it. It was just freedom. It got me out of the house, got me away from my parents. I mean, they're lovely people, but teenagers.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And so
that's our story, a lot of us. Freedom.
37 years.
Freedom. 37 years?
7 years.
What?
No.
Oh, say that again?
So I've been a cyclist for 37 years.
37 years. That's what I thought I heard. So now, how did you get into my program? And then did I approach you, or did you come through CycleFit Chicks, the club, and then
I think I
join the
heard
race
about the
program
club
with
and
me?
you approached me about joining the racing gang because, yeah, I would not have seen myself as a racer particularly, but you were very encouraging.
Well, I love, like, I see potential in everybody, but some people just exude it a little bit more, and I'm pretty sure that's how I got, like, gravitated to you. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, would you like to do something different and cool with the rest of us? And yeah, so you spent a year with us,
Uh-huh.
and
It's
and how did
crit.
that?
It
How
was
was
good.
that?
I still remember doing the Preston Street crit and
Oh
loving
God.
it. I just love that, just wailing around corners on a closed race course. Nothing makes me happier. But after a year, like I did find that was my first time I'd ever had a training program. I'd never followed a training plan before. As a teenager, I did the weekly time trials with my club. I belonged to Velo Club Kingston. I was like the only teenage girl in the whole club. So the only structure I'd ever had before racing with you was literally doing weekly time trials as a teenager.
Right.
That and so I'd never followed a training plan, never had any sort of structure, never had any sort of arc to my training over the course of like a training season. That was all brand new. Yeah. But of course, I did get a little overtrained and burnt out at one point, I think. And I think that was when I decided that and road racing kind of scared me because I'm not that strong, or I certainly wasn't. I'm stronger now than I was then.
Hmm.
And then road racing was pretty much a solo time trial when I got dropped by the bunch, which happened fairly rapidly. So, yeah.
I know how
And
you
then
feel.
cyclocross, where you can be dead last, but you're going in a circle, so it doesn't matter. Cyclocross is my jam.
I know, you know what? I was always too tired to hit cyclocross season after a summer of cycling. And also I only did get to do one full season of cyclocross, and that was in 2008, I believe, or 2009.
Yeah.
And I went to nationals in Edmonton and I
Badass.
came third. I know. And then I
You,
never did it again.
you know, stop at a high point.
Yeah, that's right. But I did honestly like it was just one of those things you had to make a choice because like I raced and I rode all summer and it was all consuming with weekends away. It was impossible to say, "Hey, can I spend every Sunday away racing somewhere in on, like it's just like not
So much
gonna go over
driving.
too well." That too. Well, in the day when back when we started, it was in Ottawa. So it was
Yeah.
before they
History
got banned.
in Ottawa. Yeah.
And then it moved outside the city. So I was just like, as much as I really liked it too, it was just something I had to make a choice. So
I
like
get
my
you. That's
marriage,
that's literally why I love biathlon. Was at a certain point, there's only so much time in the training year to commit to one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, biathlon's all winter, right? All winter, and then or
You
did you,
train.
it was all year round?
Yeah, because
Mm,
for shooting, you shoot. Yeah, you need to shoot twice a week, really, to get any good. Ideally, shooting once a week, it's probably not enough. So right from the get go, I was doing shooting training twice a week, and then all the other ski training. Yeah, it's pretty all consuming. And I'm not like somebody who, I mean, I know people who they just start skiing and all of a sudden they're just really strong. I am not those people. I am like literally people say, "Oh, Kim, you're being you're being too down on yourself." When I say like I am utterly average. I have no big athletic gifts. I really don't. I am obsessive about sports, well-being, really not gifted in any of them. But
it made me laugh.
like I don't have the pressure of like podiums and achievements.
Uh,
Like I
yeah.
don't. Like I mean, I did in biathlon because I could go to a race and there'd be three other women, so I podiumed like every single race. It was
You're like,
hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah, loved
that
it.
doesn't matter. There's only three of us. That
Yeah,
doesn't.
I so much hardware from biathlon, and it was literally just because I showed up. But yeah,
Hey,
we
but sometimes
I had
that's
to
the
train
only
year
thing.
round and train quite hard for it. So it was really hard to step away and do other things. And so after four
Mhm.
years of it, I decided it was time to let it go, and I sold my rifle. And then COVID hit, so the timing was good.
Oh, perfect. So for everybody who's not entirely sure what biathlon is cross country skiing and shooting, like
Yeah.
rifle ranges. Yeah, so you ski and then you have to stop and you have to lower your heart rate enough to actually focus on hitting your target, and then you take off and you do it again. How many
Yeah.
times is it in a course?
It depends on the race format. Sometimes there's you shoot prone and standing two times
Hmm.
each, and sometimes it'll be three times each. It actually just depends on the race format. Yeah, it
Okay.
basically for women racing in sort of what would in cycling what would be the equivalent of like senior women's category or masters women, you race for about an hour. It meshes really well with cyclocross because basically it's you go eyeballs bleeding for 45 minutes to an hour, and then you're done.
Yeah, I know that's one thing I liked about cyclocross. But so we were just joking that Kim should come over to my place and pick off a couple turkeys that are eating my chicken feed that just don't go away. They come, they feed, we chase them off, they leave for about an hour and then they come back. And we've been trying to, I don't know if anybody's sensitive about this, but
There's a lot of
if you're a hunter, well, you understand what's going on. It's hunting season. And we're just like trying to take them out, and they're also eating my animals' food. So I think
yeah,
it's fair
rude.
game. So I was telling Kim she had to come over and take care of some of them. But so after that, like I noticed that you got into this is when I hadn't seen you for a while, and I noticed that you did this cycle tour. So it's something that's specific to this particular region, and I'd love you to talk about that. What just made you decide to get into doing that?
Well, so I got into what's called bike packing. And
Bike
the only
packing.
way bike packing differs from bike touring is really instead of having panniers and, racks bolted onto your bike. You have soft bags, so like a frame bag, a roll, a handlebar roll or a bag, and a seat bag, a big seat bag on your saddle. And the advantage of that gear partly is you can ride in bumpy off-road terrain and you don't have to worry about bolts snapping or racks failing. It's all soft stuff that velcros on your bike. It's also lighter. And I did come to bike packing from ultralight backpacking. So I already had lightweight
Oh.
low volume gear. And so it was, for me, it was like the perfect combination. I love backpacking and I love riding bikes. And it's like, oh my God, this is beautiful marriage of the two. Like, what's not to love? Yeah. And that locally, two skiers that I know really well, two kick-ass cross-country skiers, Jen Adams and Eric Bettridge, are also longtime cyclists, former cyclocross racers,
Uh-huh.
just all around really cool people. And they spent years scoping out and designing this local bikepacking route called the
Oh,
Log
no
Drivers
way.
Walk.
Oh, really?
And it's about 800 kilometers. It basically goes in a giant circle through roughly 400 kilometers on the Ontario side of the Ottawa River, and then roughly 400 and some on the Quebec side of the Ottawa River. It goes in a big circle and it's meant to sort of celebrate the roots and terrain around the river systems that, the log drivers of yore, ran logs down.
Right.
And so there's lots of like little backcountry roads. You're close to a lot of little rivers. The terrain is gnarly as heck. Like I think I saw Jesus at one point in the North Frontenac Parklands in the half of the route that I rode last year. I was very underbiked at the time, and
Underbiked.
there's a day where it was very isolated. I was going up and down these like bangers of hills over and over. I had just come
So,
off of a summer of being non-weight bearing. I tore a ligament in my foot the summer
oh, so
before
you
that.
go and do something like that?
Yeah, and just decided after a month back on my feet that I should go ride this route. So I was like physically not really ready for it. And the gearing on my bike I discovered was not really low enough for my fitness level. And so, yeah, I did half of the route. I did about 100 kilometers a day and I rode about 500K. And it was really fun. And so I still have the Quebec side of the route to come back and do. And then at some point, I plan on doing the entire thing, but I need to train a bit more for that.
Yeah. 100K a day?
Oh,
That's
yeah, and to be honest, for bike packing racing, that's like baby mileage. That's nothing. There are people who will ride like 250 kilometers in a day
I
and
know,
not a
but
sleep.
how long did it take you?
That was just kind of riding all day. It was the fall, so the days were short. So
Yeah.
just really, it's not hard to ride 100K a day, even on gravel roads and sort of off-roady rough
Yeah,
terrain.
yeah.
Even at like my I sort of pedal along, but just ride all day. It's the same way I do my long distance hiking. I don't do anything particularly fast. I just stay out there
You
all day.
steady.
Yeah.
Slow and steady. Slow
Siege
and
tactics.
steady. So tell
Yeah.
me about the route because you did the Ontario. So where did it start in Ontario and where did you finish?
The official start, I think it's in Almont. Is the
Okay.
official start of the route. So next July will be the second grand depart of the Log Drivers Waltz. And so people who want to do it when there's a big gang of people doing it, like bike packing race style, where everybody starts in
Hmm.
the same time and goes ripping around the route. I think it is July 29th. If you go to the Log Drivers Waltz website, they'll have the date. But anyway, if you do it that way at the Grand Depart, you'd be starting in Almont, Ontario, and then following the loop round from there. Where I live in the Gatineaus, the route goes right by my house. So I actually started
Oh,
beside my and rode south into Ottawa from my house, and then rode around, did the whole Ontario section, and finished across the river at Portage du Fort and finished in Shawville. And that was when I sort of ran out of time that
oh,
last
really?
fall. That took 5 days, and that was as much time as I had. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay,
But I
so
think the course record is something bonkers, like 2.5 days.
Two
Like
and a
it's
half days?
yeah, it's mind blowing. There's a guy who's done it in something like 2.5 days, and the fastest woman did it really fast last year too. So yeah, I mean, like I'm not kidding
Do
when
they
I tell
bother
you
bringing
my speed,
anything?
my
Like,
speed is very normal people speed.
okay, aside from them,
Yeah.
what about everybody else?
Everybody else, the cool thing about it is there are places around the route that are marked where you can camp. Or if you are a more intrepid soul, you can just kind of stealth camp wherever it's not clearly private property, which has always been my modus operandi around here when I go bikepacking. I I never pay for camping.
Well, oh,
I
you said
find a
so.
spot where there's no signs that say it's private property, where there are no fences, where there are no gates, and I hide because I've done all my bike packing as a solo woman. My
Uh-huh.
husband has a chronic illness, so he would love to do this stuff and he would really enjoy it, but he can't. So I've done it all, just a long weekend here, a 3 or 4 day stretch there. Just when I get a good window of time and maybe a good weather window, I just go pack my bike up and go. And
Oh
so
my,
part of my stealth camping, yeah, part of the reason for stealth camping is I feel safer. I wouldn't sleep if I was like in a campground surrounded by other people who know, oh, 2 campsites down, there's a woman by herself. Like, yeah, that
yeah.
I'm sure it'd be fine, but I would not sleep well. Yeah.
Oh. Oh no, I've seen women camping by themselves in campgrounds. Only like when I was in PEI, like this summer. I
I'm
saw a
sure people
couple.
do it. Just me personally, it makes me nervous, and I'd rather be
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well, yeah, I know I see the point, and I just sort of like to hide. And I've watched some other women who are backpack like more bike tours who are female,
yeah,
and that would scare me. I think more like, you pull onto like a beach or something, or like off road, and yeah, I think I would. That's where I would be a little bit more eyes
yeah.
wide open like all night long.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people say, "Aren't you worried about bears?" And it's like, no, I'm not worried about bears. I'm
No worry
worried about
about bears.
it's the two-legged problem. Yeah, it's to be honest, it's just meeting men in the back country by myself. Most of them are absolutely nice guys who would, be protective rather than cause trouble, but you just never know. And so, yeah, my comfort level is to go, and when I'm camped, I camp. If I'm by myself, I camp somewhere where no one knows I'm there.
Yeah, no, I'd see that. No bright red.
No,
Ah.
nothing. I mean, that's the problem this time of year is you have to worry about hunters, of course. So it's
Oh,
like
well,
it's
you wouldn't be out there this time of the year because that's
yeah. I don't do it much this time of year because of that. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's a little too risky. I do have some
yeah.
international large stuff, but yeah.
So where did you start acquiring all the gear? Because I mean, because you said you started hiking,
Yeah,
light
started
pack
when the
hiking.
kids were small, because we wanted to go backpacking. And if you go down the ultralight backpacking rabbit hole, what it ends up meaning is that two parents and two kids, you can carry all this stuff if it's really lightweight, and the kids don't
Yeah.
have to carry more than their stuffy and their jacket and some snacks. And we used to go down to the Adirondacks and
Mm,
hike and camp. And it meant we could go on like 2 or 3 day backpacking trips. And, even with all the food you'd need to bring, our gear was light enough that Bernie and I could carry it and still have fun.
oh, you're not
And
like 60-pound packs,
oh, heck no.
basically.
No, like I've
Yeah.
done a 7 day trip down in the Adirondacks with 7 days of food and fuel, and my pack weighed 21 pounds.
21 pounds? Was it by yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So did you bring at least one change of clothes?
7 days of food and 7 days of fuel. Water's plentiful there, so the water part's easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like the whole idea with ultralight backpacking is your backpack, your tent, your sleep system, your clothes, everything that's non-consumable. So excepting fuel, water, and food, your pack would weigh 10 pounds or less.
Okay. What kind of backpack, what kind of sleeping bag would you, and of course, like this would be what in the summer that you would do this so you can just use a very light, small. backpack, sleeping bag?
Yes and no. It depends on the gear you have. So a lot of ultralight backpackers will get what's called a quilt, and it's
Okay.
like kind of a sleeping bag that doesn't have a back on it. And there's elastic straps that go around your sleeping pad that you can clip the sides of the
Oh,
quilt that when you turn over, it doesn't like you don't get gaps and drafts.
oh,
And that you can use them down to like to freezing really or below freezing. At a certain point, it makes more sense to have a mummy bag, say sort of -5 Celsius or more. I wouldn't want my quilt then. But
where
when
do you
I
get a quilt?
well,
Where do you get one?
there's a couple Canadian makers now that make them. But when I bought the original one I bought 15 years ago maybe from Enlightened Equipment in the U.S. and
Okay.
it weighs under a pound. It's supposed to be good down to 30 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I should. Let's call it 0. The one I
Okay.
have now, the one I bought for the PCT because I knew that one was not going to be warm enough. I bought a new one from the same company. So Enlightened Equipment in the States, they're in Minnesota or something. And it's good down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus, I don't know, 10
Three.
Celsius,
I don't
9
know.
Celsius, something.
Oh.
Because a lot of women on the PCT, because of altitude, it gets really cold at night. Heck, for the first
Oh
month we
yeah, for
hiked,
sure.
I was wearing like there were nights where I wore all my clothes that
Uh-huh.
I had, and with that 10-degree quilt was still like just warm enough because it
To
actually gets
sleep.
desert at night in April.
Uh-huh. So tell me more about your equipment, because I think that's really cool. Like, I'm going to check something. I've never really realized I had sleeping bags like that. And it
Yeah,
makes
and
total sense.
they're not as bulky as a full mummy bag that would
Well,
have,
yeah.
all the down baffles that are under your body getting squashed that aren't really insulating you. That's the idea, is to eliminate that part, to eliminate the insulation that you're laying on top of, that you're
Yes.
squashing locked out of. Why have that weight if it's not going to serve any purpose? So you need to consider for a proper sleep system. Yeah, the sleep pad you sleep on has to account for the temperature range you're going to be in as well. So if
So
you're
what
sleeping,
sleep pad do you have?
I've got a Thermarest Newer X-Lite, and
It's a
it weighs,
Thermarest. That's a brand?
yeah, Thermarest is the brand. The one that I have, and it's really popular among sort of ultralighty people, is the NeoAir X-Lite. And I have the women's one, which has an R value of 5.6, I think. The regular one, the men's one or the regular one, has a little lower R value. I think it's 4.3 or something. But anyway,
Okay.
plenty warm enough to get you into the shoulder seasons. To get you could sleep on that. For most people, that would be warm enough. Down to 0 or a little below to insulate you from the cold coming up from the ground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have a bivy bag? Is that what you use for your sleeping, or do you have like a small one person tent?
What I used on the PCT and I have been using bike packing is a tarp that has a mosquito netting skirt. So it's
Oh,
a floorless shelter. So I've got a ground sheet, my Thermarest and my quilt that I sleep on the ground sheet, and then my tarp. And here, because of the heavy bug pressure most of the year, the tarp I bought has a mosquito netting sort of skirt around it that just
mm-hmm.
drapes down to the ground to keep the mosquitoes out. That's what I used on my through hike this summer. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
But I'm also in the process right now of just buying a rectangular tarp because I'm going to go down to Arizona this winter. I'm hoping and do some bike packing in the mountains and the desert and down in the like in the American Southwest, you can get by without mosquito protection.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to worry about other things crawling into
Plus,
your tent.
that'll be enough. Yeah, I got a bunch of shelters. Let's just say I've got like a nice lightweight 2-man tent. I've
Mm-hmm.
got my tarp that has the mosquito bug net on the bottom. That's my most heavily used shelter. We've got a
Yeah.
couple of other tarp tents that we bought that we used for backpacking with kids when they were smaller. And then we've got a big car camping tent like most people have. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, the 50 pounder.
Yeah, we're still a little too ultralighty for that, but yeah, just one that certainly 4 people can sleep in comfortably.
I know mine's like a condo. It's like 6 plus. You can stand up in it, but when I go to events, I love that because I can like you saw it when you were at Halliburton. Yeah, that's the last time I saw her.
That's so
Halliburton.
much more civilized than all my stuff that I have to crawl into.
Yes, that's right. And I'm like, I prefer, I can even pull my bike in there and keep everything. But that's specific. But when camping, we downgraded to two double man tents that are much lighter that we can, so one for the kids and one for us.
Yeah,
And then
that's
I'm
the way to
like,
go. Like go somewhere on foot.
exactly. Yeah, and I've always wanted to get back into backpacking because I used to do a lot of it when I was in my 20s. But I just have not, because I was thinking, I was trying to find a place around here, and maybe you can help, that you can go for, like 3 days backpacking.
Yeah.
Where would you go, Han? Is it like, is Frontenac Park like the only place?
Frontenac Park is a lovely place to do that, actually, especially if you
Mm-hmm.
take. Yeah, that would be one of my favorites. That was actually the very first place I backpacked in.
Okay. It's fairly safe. We went backpacking there this summer, and my husband canoed in, and we
Oh, yeah.
backpacked into our tent, like our camp area. So it was kind of nice. So we had the canoe in there, and to do things like on the pond or the lake that we were on.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Frontenac because you can do loops there too.
yeah, and it's not super hilly. It's
Yeah.
pretty flat.
From here. Yeah.
Yeah, I could jog in actually.
Yeah.
That's how nice those trails are. Now, what about your clothes? So, t-shirt,
So clothes for backpacking?
yeah.
Well, part of the sort of the ultralight ethos is you bring the absolute minimum
Mm-hmm.
while also accounting for safety and your own personal needs for warmth. Like I'm a small person. I once I get cold, I have a really hard time warming myself back
Mm-hmm.
up. So um, I always make sure I've got something that's really warm. Like when I hiked the PCT, I had a down puffy jacket and a lightweight one, that I just a
Yeah.
9 ounce one, with me for the entire trail. Um, that I didn't need that often, but when I needed it, it was the only thing that would have worked. And so,
Right.
like for me, that's a safety matter, is to have something really warm, so that if you
Yeah.
get chilled or it's cold at night, you are going to stay warm enough that your hands function and
Yeah. You can
you know,
sleep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So puffy, always rain gear. Some people say, ah, if it's the summer and it's warm rain, it's not bad. I have almost gotten hypothermia in the Adirondacks when it was +5 and raining. Like got so cold in a quick rain shower that my hands almost didn't work, and
Yeah.
realized that, whoa, if it starts to rain and it's 5 degrees Celsius or lower, that I have to sort of aggressively pay attention to how warm I am so that I
Yeah.
don't get,
Yeah.
um, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
That's,
rain pants are good. Not everybody will use rain pants. Some people and on the PCT for the first half, like through the desert, I carried wind pants. And they were
oh.
fantastic because, they were like these sort of 3 ounce ripstop nylon pants that I could just pull on in the morning over my running shorts, and they keep the chill off. They breathed a little bit, so they didn't get
Mm-hmm.
clammy. Rain pants do. I'd throw them on at lunchtime or at breaks if it was cooler, and they were they were fantastic. And then when I at the latter end of the hike, as I was heading into Oregon and Washington, where theoretically you may encounter days of rain, I was lucky. We had very little rain.
Yeah.
I actually bought lightweight rain pants and carried those for the last month and a half in the hike,
Uh-huh.
and rain pants home because I wasn't going to carry both. See, that's the thing with ultralight hiking, is the minimum of clothing that will meet all your needs, keep you warm, keep you safe, but no extras. Like for a 4-ish month hike where I walked from Mexico to Canada, 4,250 kilometers, I had a puffy jacket, a rain jacket. I had one shirt that I hiked in. I had one other thin, light top and bottom that I could sleep in. I had wind pants or rain pants. I never had the two at the same time. I had 2 pairs of socks. I had 2 pairs of underwear. I had one sports bra. And that was it. So the hilarious thing was, you would go into a trail town and you knew who the thru hikers were, because to do our laundry, we had to put on our rain gear because there was nothing else. Anything else needed to be watched. So if you saw somebody walking around in, it's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, like 35 Celsius outside, and you see somebody walking around in a puffy down jacket and rain pants, they're naked underneath those clothes, and everything else is in the laundry.
Oh my gosh.
Because you're gonna stink.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do. You're gonna be smelly. There's no way around it. The only thing people will tend to have extras of is socks because you need to keep your feet healthy,
Yeah.
so that you can keep walking. And other than
Yes.
that, there's not much point in having extra clothes. Some people would get all fancy and they'd have town clothes. Like, whoa, I was not willing to carry
Town clothes.
Yeah. It would literally just be, like an extra t-shirt and an extra pair of shorts or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Some have like a lightweight sort of dress made out of some sort of sporty fabric, maybe. And
Oh, that would have been nice.
they'd be in town looking all fancy. But these were also people who probably had camp shoes, and I never carried camp shoes. I just had my trail runners.
Oh, you didn't have a change of shoes. Mm.
Because some people
Those,
like extra shoes or sandals for water crossings or to wear in town. And I was
yeah.
like absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I
Well,
think I would probably,
like I weigh about 105 now. Normally, before I hit the trail, I weighed 115. I lost 10 pounds pretty quickly. And then at some point on the trail, I lost another 10 pounds. I'm sure my weight got down to like 95, like dripping wet. And
oh, your poor mom. Oh my God.
my parents were freaking out. It was hilarious, actually. All my friends back at home that were following along were looking at the pictures and sending me panicked messages on Instagram about how skinny I looked. And I was like, it is what it is, guys. I'm eating everything I can.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is that as a percentage of my body weight, like even if my pack is as light as possible, it still works out to 20% of my body weight.
Oh
It,
yeah,
it,
I guess. So how was yours like 25 pounds?
huh? Oh yeah,
Was it like,
my base weight for the Pacific Crest Trail, my pack without food or water or fuel was 10 and a half pounds.
okay, so this is like Kim. So this summer, she disappeared for like 4 months and went and did this epic 4-month hike along the West Coast. Was it, you said from Mexico to Canada?
Yeah, and
And
at the
that's
bottom,
what we're talking about right now. So she went from bike packing to getting in to this hike because not everybody can get in. Because remember, you said you were in the lottery, and
yeah,
you got the call. You're like, oh my God,
it was like, woohoo, I'm
yes, I'm going. And so that's what we were talking about. We're talking about food. Well, I haven't talked about food yet because I want to know about that. But the lightweight gear and clothing, because I mean, I'd like to try bike touring or bike packing, but I know that I'm just like gonna have to set aside a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 just to get started.
probably
I
not even that much, to be honest. You'd be surprised.
think a lot of people are getting rid of and upgrading their stuff, and I could buy
Yeah, well, one
some.
of the, like say if you get one of the bike packing saddlebags and they have like I don't know, they sort of stick out behind the saddle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of those, that's maybe $200.
Mm-hmm.
You can lash a dry bag onto your handlebars. You don't need to do anything there. That's what I did originally.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I got lots
yeah,
of dry bags.
yeah, exactly. And then it's, and the aim is to keep the weight balanced between front and back as much as you can. And
Did you
then
have a V? Like,
for your bike frame, that's the only place where it's a little more complicated. You can buy ready-made ones, but they may not fit your frame very well and might not maximize all the space that's there.
uh-huh.
I sewed my own. No
Oh,
one who looks at it will go, wow, where'd you buy that? It's very obviously sewed by me inexpertly, but it does. So I made one for my hardtail and one for my cross bike that I also use for gravel and bike packing. Yeah. And so the advantage of having a full frame bag is that you put anything that's heavy. That's where it goes, is in your frame bag. If you're going to carry water in a bladder in your frame bag, put your fuel
okay.
canister in your frame bag, put your tools and your spare tube in your frame bag. Like if there's anything particularly weighty, you want it as low in the frame as possible. And so it's nice to have a frame bag instead of just having the main triangle filled with a couple water bottles and bottle cages. That's not
Right.
taking advantage of the space very well. But
Yeah.
then where do you put water? People get little stem bags that sort of loop onto the handlebars right
Oh, I've
beside
seen those.
you,
Yeah.
and you water bottles in those. I usually have one water bottle in a stem bag. The other stem bag is full of my snacks, the stuff so I can
Yeah.
keep eating. And then I have extra water in like a platypus hydro pack bag
Yeah.
inside the bag.
Okay. Well, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. So let's talk about food because you can only carry so much when you're
Mhm.
hiking on that trail. And how far apart were all the villages that you could effectively stop at?
Well, on the Pacific Crest Trail, Southern California, where you start, is it's pretty. It breaks you in easy. The first 40 miles, you stop at 20 miles, and at 40 miles, and there's a resupply. Like there's a crappy little, basically a convenience store, or you can mail yourself a box of stuff to be waiting for you there.
Okay.
So I started with 10-mile days because I went into it like looking at what makes people quit their hike. The most common thing is they get way too excited at the start and they injure themselves and have to quit. And so my plan was initially to do at least the first 100 miles doing 10-mile days. Even though I did,
Mm.
lots of hiking before I left, I actually didn't have the stamina to walk all day. And certainly
Right.
not all day in the heat because it was hot for a Canadian coming from winter. And so 10-mile days meant my first food carry was 2 days of food. And my second food carry was 2 more days of food. And then after that, it was like 3-day or 4-day food carries, which is very manageable.
Okay.
The biggest food carry I had on the PCT was in the Sierra. I had an 8-day carry in a bear canister, and that was heavy. That was the heaviest my pack ever was.
Oh, you
And so
had to
that
put it in a canister?
when you go through the Sierra Nevada, you have to use a hard-sided bear canister. So you can't use an Ursack, which are those, sort of Kevlar material bags. I use that at home when I do
Yeah.
bike pack. You can't use an Ursack in the Sierra. You have to have an actual hard-sided bear canister. Yeah.
So did you buy that when you got there? Like
No,
closer
I
to
actually own one here. I've got a small one here that I rarely use, but when you need it, you need it. It's kind of nice to have one. So yeah, if you ever need to borrow one, I've got one. In the Sierra, the
awesome.
one I was worried would be too small. And so I actually rented a carbon fiber one from Wild Ideas in California called the Barricade. I rented a Barricade Weekend, and it's got, I think it's 650 cubic inches of volume. So the Bear Vault 450, there's clear plastic bear canisters you can get from Mountain Equipment Co-op. They're called the Bear Vaults. They're the most common kind. And there's two sizes. There's one that's like the Bear Vault 450, and it's about 450 cubic inches. And then there's a bigger one that's, I don't know how many, but it's like twice as big. That one that's twice as big is the one people most commonly rent on the PCT to go through the Sierra. I knew that one would be too big for me. So the one
Right.
I rented was a carbon fiber one that was like literally halfway between the smaller Bear Vault and the bigger Bear Vault. It weighed the same as the smaller Bear Vault, but held like 50% more volume. So it
Right.
gave me more room. Because I've gotten 6 days of food into my little Bear Vault.
Yeah.
Choosing things very judiciously and removing packaging and stuff.
Yeah.
But I
Now,
need
is that something you slide into your backpack?
Yeah, some people will
Yeah, it's
strap it on
just,
the side, but that's not very ergonomic.
no.
Mine fit inside my pack.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
and it's
we have
comfortable.
some, yeah, we
It's
have,
not comfortable, but it does
yeah,
fit inside the pack. Yeah, no, you
because,
have this like rigid thing smashed against your back. Like everybody had some sort of banged up something. Like I had these weird lumps on the bottom of my spine for like a month after the Sierra from like the bear canister smashing into my back all day long.
oh
Yeah,
my God. Yeah, we
it's
have
not.
canisters like that for canoe camping,
Hmm.
like smaller ones, and but you
Yeah,
can
so
put like you strap a harness on and you can carry it.
yeah,
Yeah. Ah, well, that's cool. So then,
Sierra, everybody keeps their food in a bag, and you're supposed to do the PCT hang, which is a way of throwing a rope up over a tree, um, and then the rope is not tied off to the tree. It actually there's a way of doing it with a little carabiner and a stick or something, so that the rope just dangles straight down from the branch, and the bag is on one end and it's suspended, and there's nothing tied off to the tree trunk because the bears have learned to hunt for the rope tied to the tree trunk. So it's to fend off that possibility.
Oh my god, you have to go through like a course when you go into there? Like this is how you
Oh
hang
yeah,
it.
they just if the ranger stops you, they will ask you if you know how to do it, and they'll look for people to have properly hung food. Loads of through hikers just sleep with their food in bear country, use it as a pillow. And I have to confess, in the last month of the trail in Washington, where there are lots of black bears and I saw them regularly, I was so tired. I just slept with my food. There were nights where I was literally like, fine, bear, like, take me quickly because I am too tired to hang my damn food up. And I slept with
Oh
my
yeah,
food.
trying to sling that thing.
Oh yeah, it was just I get in at like 8 o'clock at night. It's almost dark. I'm absolutely cooked because I'll have walked like 50 kilometers that day.
Yeah.
And I like, no, I'm not hanging my food. And I'm surrounded by other campers doing the same thing. So I'm just kind of going, maybe his food smells better than mine and he'll get eaten by the bear first. And I can just run away.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, oh, okay. He looked more juicier than me anyways. So tell me, okay, Kim, so that's all fine and good. So tell me about some of those like high times and low times on the trail. Like, I don't suppose you brought a journal with you because that would be extra weight
I
or a
wish I did.
book.
I had a little notebook that I carried with me that was stuffed in my pack for most of the
Hmm.
trip. But by the end of the day, I always thought, oh, I should make some notes in it. And I never did. I made some notes on my phone a little bit, but not much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So,
probably one of my only regrets is I wish I had had the self-discipline to just like jot something down every day. That it would have been nice to look back over that.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one things I have when I went, well, it's a long time ago. I have this journal when I went to Asia. God, and go in there and read it, and I just howl at some of the things that I wrote because I was with my boyfriend at the time and we broke up. So lots of juicy feelings in that one. I should turn it into a book. But
Good read.
yeah, I know, good read. So I guess he didn't bring a book because that would be too much extra weight.
No, but part of the whole ultralighty thing to go back there again is smartphones rock because everybody just uses their smartphone. So you have your smartphone and it is your content. If you've got a data plan on your phone, which most people do, if you had cell service, then you could like reconnect with the world. I had, apps and books downloaded to my phone. So I
Okay.
phone at night. And then virtually everyone navigates the trail with an app called Far Out that has all the maps for the entire Pacific Crest Trail,
Oh,
section by section. There's water sources there, there's all the trail towns, all the information you'd need is in this app. And then there are user comments. And so you could look ahead to, oh, there's supposed to be a water cache that breaks up this 40-mile water carry in the desert.
hmm,
Is there going to be water at the cache, or do
yeah.
I need to carry 40 miles of water instead of 20 miles of water?
Yeah.
And so you could look ahead and see if people had left any notes saying, that was fantastic. You could look and say, oh, yesterday there were 40 carboys of water at the cache. I'm going to be okay. Or, oh God, yesterday the cache was down to like not much water. I better plan on not counting on that water cache. So
Yeah.
especially in the desert, because when I started, I was kind of in the hiker bubble. I started sort of
Hmm.
people get permits for March, April, or May. They release 50 permits a day for that 3-month period. For people to through hike the Pacific Crest Trail, and the long distance permit means you don't have to get any regional or local permits for any of the places you go through, and you're
Hmm.
permitted to travel through the Sierra, which is otherwise quite locked down in terms of like permit availability. People will enter lotteries just to hike the Sierra and be foiled year after year after year because everybody wants to go there because it's so stupidly beautiful. And anyway, the
Is
long
it?
distance, yeah, oh my God, it's mind blowing. But I digress.
Uh,
The long distance permit lets you do the whole trail, either north or southbound. You have to pick a direction and not have to worry about any of those other individual permits. It covers the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you're,
Oh, that's smart. So you don't have to worry about it. You just start to finish, get all done. So did you meet any interesting characters since, of
oh God,
course?
the best thing about the trail
Okay, the
wasn't
most
actually
fun, the
the
funniest.
beauty of the trail, it was the people. The people were amazing. Like, I don't really want to walk the whole thing again, but the appeal would be to go back for the people that you meet, like the other hikers, the trail angels. The trail angels are people that just out of the goodness of their heart help hikers out. Not asking for money. Sometimes you have to fight to give them gas money. Um, they'll just like give you rides into town, or they'll leave coolers with snacks and cold pop in them at like places where you wouldn't expect, or they'll just be
Oh,
set up at the side of the trail with a barbecue making hamburgers for people that walk by, or coolers with beer in them. Like, it's insane. People are so amazing. Yeah. And then
wow.
businesses in the little trail towns along the trail, like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever worked a sort of front facing customer service job. People can be so annoying, and through hikers can be very entitled, and kind of acting like they're special and you should do nice things for us. And I was said to like a lot of the businesses along the way, you guys are all like way nicer to us than we deserve. Because people are just so nice. Yeah.
Oh my God. So would you do
It's
that again? You said you wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, I would. And I made some really good friends. Like, I met the loveliest people hiking. I went down solo, started solo, knowing that I was gonna meet people. Like, friends and
Yeah.
family at home were like, oh my God, how can you do this by yourself? How dangerous. And I'm like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. Because you go down, you start walking, and you meet people who are going your pace. And gosh, look, at the last two water sources, I've met the same crowd because we're walking at the same pace. You get to
Yeah.
know their you get to the next trail town. Oh gosh, there's the same people again. So you get to know people that hike at the pace you hike at. And so with any luck, you hit it off with somebody and you sort of start planning to hike together. And so like the first 2 days I hiked with a woman um, who was hoping to do the whole thing. I don't think she did. Her feet were a disaster after 2 days. And so we actually parted ways after
Ooh.
2 days. We had to like sort out her horribly blistered foot problem. And I continued
New
on. And
shoes?
I think she got new shoes, and she actually hadn't trained a lot for the hike, and so she
Oh,
needed to slow down and go at a slower pace and take care of her feet. My
wow.
feet stayed in pretty great shape the whole way from a blister perspective.
Hmm.
And about 3 or 4 days in, I met another gang of 5 people that I hiked with for one of them for the next like 400 miles. Um, uh, and that they were awesome, really fun. One woman from BC, an older guy, his trail name was Charlie Horse. He turned 72 on the trail. He was a
Whoa.
character. Yeah, he had done the Appalachian Trail a few years
Oh,
back,
wow.
through
Yeah.
hiked that, and he came out to just hike the PCT and not necessarily through hike it, but certainly just keep on hiking. And I don't know if he finished or not. I should message him and find out. Anyway, he was pretty cool. And he had decided at one point, I heard from someone else that 20-mile days were as much as he was going to do. Because, like, if he did like 22-mile days, they just took too much out of him. And he was like 72. He's a total
Oh,
badass.
geez. Well, sounds like he's got lots of time, anyways.
And so
Wow. So what's your,
like the 500-mile mark, and
yeah,
then we were just I was just hiking longer days than she was happy hiking at that point.
yeah,
So we parted ways, and then I hit the Sierra, which is around mile 700. And going to the Sierra, most people try and pair up with people. You don't, because you're going over mountain passes and the terrain is more rugged, and
yeah.
there's like no easy. You need to go forward or back, or you get rescued by helicopter. It's not like you can just pop into a town. Like the first stretch is going to be 8 days long.
Uh-huh.
You're away from civilization, and so not an ideal place to hike by yourself. Not that there aren't people all around you, but still, you can end
Yeah.
up by yourself. And there's gnarly river crossings and stuff. So I paired up with someone else. I paired up with another guy my age-ish. I think he's a 50-ish year old guy from Guelph, Ontario, and
Oh,
he
hey.
for a few hundred miles of the Sierra. And then I wanted to start doing 20-mile days and he wanted to back off from the 15-mile days we were doing. So we parted ways. And so I'd sort of out hiked two really nice hiking partners, but I was hoping to finish in August. And at that point, my miles per day were not enough for that really impossible. I remember saying to people, I really want to finish in mid-August, and them just looking at me like, oh, honey, like, what is that?
That's nice.
Like, I get the yes, dear kind
That's
of.
delusional.
Yeah. And, but I still really thought, oh God, if only there was a way. But I knew what the way was to do 30+ mile days after the Sierra.
Yeah.
Which at that point seemed absolutely impossible. And yet I still had this delusional idea that I'd finish in mid-August.
Well, wouldn't you feel that you could increase it since you've been hiking for so long, or you're just really tired at that point?
Always just so tired. Like the
Did you take any days off?
Every day would blow your mind. Like just so much up and so much down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Really very rarely any flat. I mean, I'm really very much like training in the Gatineaus. I always joke to people that like it's never flat here. There is no flat. But the problem is there it would be like you're going to go up instead of going 400 feet, you might go up 5,000 feet. Every day. And at the end of the trail, it was, in Washington, it was not uncommon to have 7,000 or 8,000 feet of gain in a day. So I don't know what that is in meters. That's the problem. I did everything in miles and feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just incredible elevation gain. I was like climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And
did you use poles?
Huh? Yeah, trekking poles.
Yeah.
I really like trekking poles. I would say more people use trekking poles than didn't.
Yeah, I would use them too. They just save you a little bit, save your body a bit more.
In the Sierra, they are actually vital for safety for river crossings. There were river crossings where the water was like, a raging torrent that like was deep enough that the bottom of my running shorts got wet. Past mid thigh, where you have to be, you really don't want to get swept away. Like that would just be really bad.
Yeah, it would be really bad.
Help you stay balanced.
Yeah. So Kim made it back, and then I saw her at Halliburton, and that was September.
Yeah.
And
that was like a month after I finished.
Yeah, I remember seeing Patty, who was her partner, at the event, and she's like, "Yeah, Kim came," because Patty was the one who told me about your beginning, and then I'd see her throughout the summer. We'd ride together. She's like, "Oh yeah, Kim is still like out there," and I'm like, "What is Kim for a month? That's crazy." And then they came and they kicked butt in the couples event, the women's 2-person race, and and we hung out at the tent, and now she's straight into so did you come back feeling stronger after you slept probably for about 2 weeks?
I was so happy. For a little while all I wanted to do was sleep, because I was getting up. I start at the start of the trail. I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning to be hiking by 6 or 6:30 just to get good miles in before it got hot.
Yeah.
In the Sierra, I started hiking around mile 900 with another older guy. And he was really fit. Like I finally went from people who I was out hiking to someone I had to basically chase. Someone who motivated me to work really hard to keep up. And I really have no book to thank that I finished in 131 days. Like if I hadn't been hiking with him, I would not have done 30+ mile days.
Wow.
He literally convinced me that it was possible, because I wanted to do it, but 25-mile days were just leaving me feeling pretty wrecked. And then every once in a while we'd throw in a 30-mile day and I would be utterly trashed the next day. And I still knew at that point, oh no, I need to be doing 30-mile days every day to finish.
Oh my God. Did you take a day off? Any days off?
Pardon?
You take any days off?
Yeah. About once a week, I would take a 0 day. And so the way the days off are called is it's a 0 day if you don't hike any miles that day. So say you hike into town in the evening, The very next day, you stay in town the whole day, and then you sleep in town and hike out the
You hike
following
to the
day.
laundromat.
Middle day is a 0 day because you hiked 0 miles. A Nero is you get up in the morning, you hike 6 miles into town, you stay in town that night, that day, because you hiked like 6 miles or 10 miles or whatever, 20 miles. That would be a Nero. So as we went on through Oregon and Washington, I mostly did Neros, not zeros. Um, just because like we were feeling the pressure. We both wanted to finish in August, very
Yeah.
much. And
I
30
assume like,
days were becoming more like something. They were never easy, but I knew I could do them.
yeah,
It
I
was
would
like
imagine at the
I
end, you're
say to
just
myself,
like,
I do 30s. Like, yeah, I do 30-mile days. And people would say, because we'd all be asking each other, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I do
yeah,
30s. It's like,
yeah. That
yeah.
is 30. So that's like 50
It's 50K.
kilometers.
Like the last month of the trail, I was doing darn close to 50 kilometers a day, almost every full day, which still blows my mind. I can't believe I did that.
I believe it because you're probably like, I'll just walk and walk until because I want to finish so friggin'
Yeah.
hard.
And that's with like a pack that probably never weighed, less than 18 pounds. And really a lot of elevation gain and loss. Like Washington, a lot of people drop their mileage in Washington and do
Yeah.
less because there's so much elevation gain and loss each day. It's insane. Like over the course of the entire trail to walk from Mexico to Canada northbound, you climb up 488,000 feet or 489,000 feet, and you descend 488,000 feet. Or it's something like the equivalent of climbing from sea level to the top of Everest 17 times.
Oh
It's
my God.
it's crazy. It's completely crazy.
Did you know that going in there?
Yeah, I did. I just and still stupidly thought, oh yeah, I can do a fast through hike.
That sounds so doable. I've done Mount Marcy once.
None of it makes sense, but it worked. The cool thing
Well,
is, there was another Chelsea girl hiking it. So I don't know if you know Bonnie Baxter and Chris. What's Chris's last name? I mean, Chris and Bonnie. What? Chris Rogers and Bonnie Baxter. They have 2 daughters, and their younger daughter Zoe was on the trail. She started 2 weeks after me, and she finished. I don't know. She finished a week or 2 before I finished. She did a blistering fast through hike.
she was by herself.
She did connected steps from Mexico to Canada. She didn't miss anything. I missed some sections. There was a fire closure that I got shuttled around from the Lion's Head fire that was 2 years ago. And there were odd little bits here and there where Notebook and I would go, oh, that looks like a nice alternate, so it might be a section where you're not on the PCT officially, but it's got something lovely and scenic or something. And we would occasionally take alternates instead of the actual PCT. There was one time where there was a big storm system coming in, so we bailed. We're like, I'm not set up to camp in the snow, and I'm not going to. We're like, we're too old for this shit. So, we hiked down Forest Service roads to a highway and walked along a highway until we could get a hitch into town. And, so we missed something like 10 miles of trail, but we also missed camping in the snow in a snowstorm in the mountains. Not sorry about that.
And I had a big steak dinner
I was
and
not
double fries.
I did a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Well, we're so excited to have you back. And it was really nice to see you and actually connect this way because I don't think I've really actually sat and chatted with you for like a long time. I mean, we've always just been kind of in passing as like in events and races, and I've seen you and things. So it was really nice to see you at Halliburton and just sort of catch up. And I just want to thank you for being on the podcast because you are really inspirational. Because when I saw you hiking, do your bike packing, and I was like, oh, Kim's doing this. So I did so I tried a 100K ride from my house to we have a hunt camp, and I had a back pannier, not a back pannier, like a sit on top pack. And oh my God, my first run through the Gatineau Park, it like basically ripped off like the straps just ripped off. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, I hope I find a bungee cord. I hope I find a bungee cord. And would you know, I was biking on the road and I biked over a bungee cord. I stopped, I picked it up and I slung my bag back on it. I was just like, whoa, Kim,
The trail
I'm
provides.
clearly just under geared for this. And
Bike packing trips is, yeah, there's always something that goes wrong, but you realize, you know, you can be resourceful. You're gonna sort something out.
I know, and I'm gonna be able to do 100K in 4 hours, just like I kind of do on my road bike. It took me like 6 hours. My husband was like went looking for me, and but then I'm like, so that there's a bit of a realization there too, because the kilometers are not as it seems when you're road cycling to hitting gravel and biking with a
Yeah, rough
packed bike.
terrain with a loaded bike, you totally have to dial back your expectations.
Yeah, so I was just glad I got there before the sun went down. Anyways, but that was my little experience, and I've asked my kids, "Hey, would you want to do something with me?" They're like, "No." So I'm still so now I've gotten into gravel and I'm amping my way up, and maybe borrow your stuff if you let me, and I'll try like a night or two. Give me a little route to go just to test it out.
You're reminding me. I think it was not last summer, the summer before. I did a little 2-day bike packing trip with two of my kids. So me and
Oh,
Laura, we loaded up our bikes and we parked in Venosta, I think,
oh
and
yeah,
we
Vanasta, yeah,
yeah, and rode north on the Veloroute des Draveurs
yeah.
and went to a place called Carpe Diem Adventures or something. They've got these little cabins. That
Oh,
or you can camp in like one of those suspended hammock tent things. Yeah,
really?
fantastic. And we just did a sort of an out and back. So that would be especially if you wanted to do it with your kids.
Yeah, that
Something
sounds more doable because
clever is nice because it's flat.
yeah, because one other person that I talked to, they're like, you know what? You don't have to camp. You can like bike to locations. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you could if you want to spend extra money, but it's true. You could
Yeah,
bike to,
exactly.
I'm gonna check
Just
that out.
village.
Carpe diem. Yeah, I know. I'm like, we're gonna be outside and we're gonna be crammed into this two-person tent, all three of us, and that's it. No thanks. Oh, this has been awesome. Thanks so much, Kim. And I hope our audience has been inspired to go out and try something totally uncomfortable like Kim has. And but she inspired me at that time, and I was like, that is so cool because it's different when you know of somebody who's gone out and done it, then you can kind of reach out and go, hey, what the hell did you do to get to do that? But thanks a lot, Kim, and thanks to our audience for tuning in. And yeah, we'll have to bring you back if you have another big oh yeah, so last question, what's next on the radar with regards to, do you have anything that you're planning for next year? Is it going to be a recovery year and then you're gonna
I decided I'm old enough to be a snowbird, and I'm going to drive down to Arizona in February and bring my mountain bike because I can't set up my gravel bike for tubeless. So just the rims aren't right. But my mountain bike is set up tubeless because it's all stabby things down there in the snow. I'm going to go to the Sonoran Desert and go bike packing. There's a couple of loop routes that are close to Phoenix that I've got my eye
oh
on. Another one south of Tucson as well that's near the border of whatever south of Arizona. Sorry,
I
geographically
think
very.
that's well it's
Anyway, I picked
New Mexico.
Arizona partly because I do know some people who live there, and there's a lot of bike packing routes there that will be warm enough to ride at in February.
In the winter, yeah, because in the
Mhm.
summer it's like
They're
death.
low enough elevation that I don't have to worry about snow higher up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my plan.
Oh, that's
I'm not
super
going to
cool.
ride the
Maybe
Arizona Trail. It's pretty chonky, and I'm not actually a very skilled technical mountain biker. But
especially all loaded down. Well, we'll have
yeah,
to have you back and sharing that little adventure on our podcast episode. So thanks a lot, Kim. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Have yourself an amazing day, everyone. Bye. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day. Make sure you ride your bike. And don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.